Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo O. Super stoked I could be in the house this morning doing the devotion. Looking forward to getting into First Samuel chapter 13. That's where we're at today. If you want to check out the archives, you certainly can just by going to my YouTube channel. I usually put it up right over there. And it's just my name on YouTube, so check it out. And we've already gone through so much of the Bible. I mean, it's October 4th, 2022. And just in 2 years, we've really tackled a lot of books of the Bible. It's been absolutely off the charts. So, but we continue on in these Devos, just going book by book, kind of verse by verse. That's the structure. And just kind of taking care of, just reading through it and pulling out those good gems for the morning. Why do we do it? Hey, it's good to get focused on the word, right? So let's do that. But before I do, I noticed my zoom on my camera is pretty big. So let me minimize that a little bit. There we go. That's much better. Okay. So 1 Samuel 13. It says, Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. So the first thing I see, which is really interesting in this section, is that Saul, as the king of Israel, kind of is involved in like politics. What does he do as a king? What do kings need? Well, they need an army. And it's interesting because prior to this, Israel all lived in their encampment areas. You know, those areas, that land allotment that was given to them by Yahweh. And then now that Israel has a king, what they wanted so bad, right? Now they have this interesting idea of like, hey, every other nation has a king. Maybe we need a king. And so they got the king, and then they said, hey, kings need an army. Maybe we need to just gather an army. So notice it says he chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent away, every man to his tent. So we see that he has like this army that's with him, and it seems like he's gathering more of a kind of what we know as a traditional armed force, and where people actually are just now in the military. And it's kind of interesting, the whole thought of military and war and all the battling. And boy, wouldn't it be nice if it was not so? I've never heard anybody go to war and say, man, that was really awesome, the kind of thing. It's always very traumatizing, that idea of war, leaving your family, leaving what you know. And it's not that lessons aren't learned. It's not that God doesn't speak through these situations and in these situations. But boy, it is not easy. That's for sure. But this is what he does, is he starts building an army, right, around him, a protection. And, I don't know if Saul ever sought the Lord on this, you don't kind of read that about Saul, like, hey, he sought the Lord. Hey, Lord, do you want me to have an army or not? You don't get that. We're also introduced to Jonathan. We'll get more into Jonathan as we go in the narrative, but I think you'll like Jonathan. It says, and Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. It says, then Saul blew the trumpet throughout the land, saying, let the Hebrews hear. Now all Israel heard it, said that Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had also become an abomination to the Philistines. And the people were called together to Saul at Gilgal. Now, I wonder if this is not just like political propaganda in a way. This is just politics, right? Saul, the war, Jonathan attacks, Saul gets on the news, hey, I've attacked, I did it. I'm the one who went forward and, conquered and did this. And, and not only that, but those Philistines, this is what they say about us. What do you think of that? And I think it's interesting that it says Saul blew the trumpet, right? He gets their attention. What are things that get my attention? What is the propaganda that I hear, right? That I listen to, that's reiterated? What slogans have I bought into? What slogans do you know of that are so common that you don't think it's a slogan anymore? You think it's actually real. You think it's really, for your benefit. But yet it's really there to move you in a direction, right? That's what slogans are kind of there to do, right? They're part of a propaganda machine, right? And so I see that here. He blows the trumpet. He gets their attention. Hey, notice Jonathan's the one that goes into the battle. But what does it say? Let the Hebrews hear. Now all Israel heard it and said, Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines. Maybe there's character qualities in us that we want the attention. We want the respect. We want, the victory for ourselves. Instead of saying, hey, Jonathan attacked and this is what happened. He says, hey, I attacked, and then, he says, hey, and he also says that what? He said that the garrison of the Philistines have said that Israel was an abomination to them. And, that probably, ticked off a lot of the Hebrews, right? And this is what I think good propaganda does. And I don't mean good as in it's good. I mean good as in it's effective. Is that what it does is it moves people to anger, to envy, to dislike, or it moves them to go a direction, right? It makes them not question, anything. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this, stop the curve, these little statements that we hear, right? Those are all part of slogans that are part of propaganda. And this isn't something new. I'm not saying something weird or something strange to humans. This is what we do when we get involved in government and politics and money and all that. And all of us are a part of it. We're all susceptible to it. We all need saving, right? Every single one of us. Yeah. So, it's just good to know about it. It's good to think a little bit about stuff. And hey, is that a slogan? What does that benefit? Who does it benefit? How much money's involved? Those might be good questions to ask. Then the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and the people as the sand, which is on the seashore in multitude, quite a bit. And they came up and encamped in Michmash, to the east of Beth Aven. And the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed. Then the people hid in caves, in thickets, in rocks and holes, and in pits. And some of the Hebrews crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. So it seems like Israel is kind of moving around. It seems like the Philistines are coming at them with quite a big army. And hey, we come at Israel, or things come at us with a big army as well, right? Sometimes things come at us and it seems like it's overwhelming, that the flood of something is so big, emotional, right? The temptations are so heavy. The enemy's gigantic, that kind of idea. It's good to always remember that the victory is the Lord's. I always think of that too. It's just like, hey, the resurrection says that it's conquered. The biggest enemy's conquered, death. And so there's nothing that Jesus can't overcome in and through us. And he will. It's just a matter of time. He will do it. It's a sure thing. And I love that idea. Hey, if God could conquer the biggest things, and he promises me that I will too conquer the biggest things, then it must be assumed that I'm going to also conquer the smaller things as well. He's going to do that in my life too. So be of good cheer, If you struggle with stuff, we all struggle with stuff, absolutely. But think about it this way. He conquered death, and he promised that you too will conquer death. And so, hey, let's just reason this out, right? If you're going to conquer death, and that's the greatest temptation to throw off Christ, right? Why am I dying? Where are you, God? That kind of idea. That's the greatest trial. Then he's going to give you victory over the others as well. Hold on to that. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he waited 7 days, according to the time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal. And the people were scattered from him. So Saul said, "Bring a burnt offering and a peace offering here to me." And he offered the burnt offering. Now it happened as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering that Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. And Samuel said, "What have you done?" The prophet priest, to be able to make a sacrifice before the Lord, to, in a sense, intercede. You know how it's been, Joshua, Judges. The Lord speaks, right? Hey, you guys are going to conquer this person, and that kind of idea. And so because the Lord speaks and says, hey, you're going to win, they go, right? They go for, and win the victory. And if God says, hey, you can go, but you're going to get defeated, they get that too. Here Saul waits for Samuel to come to present an offering before the Lord, a burnt offering, which is a dedication offering of your everything, and then a peace offering to have fellowship with God, to have peace with him, right? And he is doing this, but Saul is doing this. He doesn't have the patience to wait for Samuel. It's almost like, hey, I gotta go to war, but where's the prophet? Where's the priest? We got to commune with God. Where's everybody at? Hey, I'm just gonna take the initiative and go do it myself. This is one of those stay in your lane sections where it's just like, hey, what is my lane? What is my area? And am I gonna stay in that lane, or am I gonna jump, usurp, and go beyond, right? And usurp the authority that is above me. And in our day and age, we tend to think that, submission is a bad thing. And that's not true. What would the world be like if no one submitted? But you know what? Even though people say they don't like submission, everybody submits. Remember, we talked about those government propaganda machines, the political engine that stirs throughout the world. How many of us just submit to that? Right? We don't even recognize propaganda. We don't even see the slogans, right? Even those that wrote books against propaganda and slogans still are, in a sense, taken in by the propaganda and the slogans, right? Go figure. And so Saul said, when I saw the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, the Philistines will now come down to me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering. Oh, God, help me not feel overly compelled. Help me to take things before you. And Samuel said to Saul, you have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For now the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. Wow. That is powerful. Man, you would have been established over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart. Wow, interesting. After his own heart. And the Lord has commanded him to be commander over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. Then Samuel rose and went from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin, and Saul numbered the people present with him about 600 men. So right there, You're going to see God is going to choose someone after his own heart. That's where we get David as a man after God's own heart, by the way. This is this little area right here, so you might want to underline it or circle it so you know where it's at in your Bible. But notice Samuel says, man, you've acted presumptuously. It's like when we say, hey, God will forgive me. I'm just going to go do this. Ugh, oh man, don't presume upon, God's mercy or God's grace, kind of that presumptuous attitude. And we do that. We have those attitudes sometimes, and they're not good at all. We got to call it out. Hey, it's not a good attitude, man, to have that kind of heart where you're thinking, oh, well, God forgives, so we just go do it. Yeah, I'm presuming upon something, right? I'm presuming that no matter what, God's going to forgive me. And, and that might be the case where God will forgive me and does forgive me. But I don't want to presume upon that, have that kind of attitude. It's just not a good one in the human condition, in the human heart. So Saul here gets some pretty bad news, right? Sometimes we get bad news too, right? And how do we take it? How do we respond to it? Maybe what would have been a good response for Saul? Maybe just say, hey, I understand. It's going to be taken from me and I get it. And that's it. But it didn't go that way, right? We're going to see Saul is he is going to fight this message from Samuel right now, tooth and nail. Sometimes it's hard for us to really take the correction that's needed. We just can't say, yep. Yeah, that's it. I've done wrong. Instead it's just we try to fight and fight and fight. Help me to surrender. Help me to have an attitude of surrender before God. And just to get on my knees, surrender before the Lord. Knowing his correction is grace. So Jonathan his son, and the people present with them remained in Gibeah of Benjamin, but the Philistines encamped at Michmash. Then raiders came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned on the road to Ophrah, to the land of Shual. Another company turned to the road of Beth Horon, and another turned to the road of the border that overlooks the valley of Zeboim toward the wilderness. So again, archaeologists, enjoy, right? Try to find those. Have fun. That's the cool thing about archaeology, right? And that's why the Bible's so cool, is it's got all these places that are named. Now there was no blacksmith to be found throughout the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make swords or spears, but all the Israelites would go down to the Philistines to sharpen each man's plowshare, his madox, and his axe, and his sickle. And the charge for a sharpening was a pim for the plowshares, the madox, and the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. So it came about on the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but they were found with Saul and Jonathan his son. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to pass of Michmash. So, again, some politics happening. Sounds like there was the Philistines and Israel. Remember, they lived together for a long time. And if you remember, the Philistines, a lot of times were the oppressors of Israel. Israel was servant to the Philistines in many ways. So you can see that they actually, there was a trade going off on this whole sharpening of tools. And it seems like there became a lack thereof during this time of war. And so we just understand it's a political chapter for sure. We see kind of Saul and his propaganda machine going, those Philistines hate us, blah, 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 going, I'm the one who went to war when Jonathan went to war. We see, the different aspects of things being cut off because of war. Does that sound familiar to our day? When oil gets cut off? Yeah. Things happen. See, war creates all kinds of problems, our hate for one another, the hate that's in our hearts. Really, really issue wanting more money, wanting more area, wanting more this. Someone has to call the shots. And when humans try to call the shots, boy, it really gets messy. Maybe we need a voice that's a little greater than us to listen to, right? Or maybe a lot greater than us to listen to. And we just kind of come underneath that person. Well, the world will do that with a person called the Antichrist. It's kind of weird. But we want to do it with the real Christ. And the thing is if you don't have the real Christ now, then, the propaganda machines and the politics and all that might really dupe you into, coming underneath the Antichrist. And because you don't know the real, right? You kind of, when you're playing Monopoly, it's fake money because you know what real money feels and looks like. And in the same way, if you're listening to this and you don't know who Jesus is, and you've never studied the life, death, resurrection of Jesus, then you don't know the real. And all you're probably playing with is Monopoly money spiritually. And so, it's a good chapter to really wake us up to how the machines work. And during, war and different positions that people are put in these troubling times. And so for us, let's just keep our eyes focused, right, on our lane, where we're at, focusing on Christ, that kind of thing. So Tina says, amen, scary without him. He is my strength and my protector. That's right. Absolutely. So cool chapter. I think it's kind of a neat chapter in the sense that it's a little more politically applicable for today. And we see that just as today, all these things are going on in our present day, it was going on back then as well. So God's going to select a king that is after his own heart. We'll have to see who that is. And we've been introduced to Jonathan now in the narrative. Man, very cool, right? Absolutely. So, I think the thing we've learned from Saul at this point is, for us today, is let me not presume, right, to do it. Let me go seek the Lord first, Hey, you guys have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.